Imagine standing in the ruins of an abandoned Soviet research station, somewhere north of the Arctic Circle. The buildings are gutted. The equipment is rusted. Snow pushes through broken windows. In the center of the wreckage, bolted into a concrete slab, there is a metal cap about the size of a manhole cover. It looks like nothing. 12 rusted bolts holding down a disc of welded steel. But beneath that cap is a hole 9 inches wide that drops straight down for over 12 kilometers. Deeper than the Mariana Trench. Deeper than Mount Everest is tall. If you dropped a stone into it, you would wait for nearly a full minute before it hit bottom. And what the Soviets found at the bottom of that hole changed everything we thought we knew about the ground beneath our feet. This is the Kola Superdeep Borehole, the deepest hole ever drilled by human hands. A 20-year attempt to reach the center of the Earth that was abandoned not because they ran out of ambition, but because the Earth itself fought back. In the late 1950s, while the United States and the Soviet Union were racing each other into space, a quieter competition was unfolding in the opposite direction. Both superpowers wanted to drill through the Earth's crust and reach the mantle, the thick layer of semi-molten rock that makes up most of our planet's volume. The Americans launched Project Moholy in 1961, attempting to drill through the thin oceanic crust off the coast of Mexico. It failed. Funding was cut in 1966, and the project was scrapped. The Soviets took a different approach. Instead of drilling through the ocean floor, they chose a site on the Kola Peninsula in the far northwest of Russia, near the Norwegian border. The continental crust there is part of the Baltic Shield, one of the oldest and most stable geological formations on Earth. Their target was 15 kilometers. On May 24, 1970, drilling began. The first 7 kilometers went relatively smoothly. The drill cut through granite at a predictable rate. Temperatures rose gradually as expected. Core samples came up showing exactly what geologists had predicted: solid, dense, ancient rock. Then, at around 7 kilometers, everything changed. Geologists had long believed that at this depth, they would hit a layer of basalt. Seismic data had shown a clear boundary, called the Conrad discontinuity, where the density of the rock changed sharply. For decades, this had been interpreted as the transition point where granite ends and basalt begins. It was one of the foundational assumptions in geology. The drill passed through 7 kilometers, then 8, then 9. No basalt, only more granite, metamorphosed, fractured, and increasingly strange, but granite nonetheless. The Conrad discontinuity, it turned out, was not a change in rock type at all. It was a change in the physical state of the same rock, caused by immense pressure and heat altering its density. One of the most widely accepted models of the Earth's crust was wrong. The drill had disproved it by simply going deep enough to check. But the granite was only the first surprise. At roughly 6 kilometers, the drill brought up something that no one had anticipated: microscopic fossils, plankton, single-celled organisms preserved in rock that was over 2 billion years old. These were among the oldest evidence of life ever found on Earth. They had survived billions of years of pressure and heat, encased in stone far below a depth where any biologist would have expected organic material to be destroyed. The fossils were intact. The organic compounds surrounding them were still identifiable. Life had existed at these depths, and traces of it had endured for longer than complex life has existed on the surface. At 9 kilometers, the drill encountered something else entirely. The mud flowing back up from the borehole was saturated with hydrogen gas, not trace amounts. The drilling fluid was described as boiling with it. Massive volumes of free hydrogen, generated by a chemical reaction between superheated water and iron-rich minerals deep in the crust. The Earth was producing hydrogen gas in quantities that nobody had predicted, through a process that was barely understood at the time. The ground beneath our feet was not the dead, inert slab of rock. that textbooks described. It was chemically active, producing gases, cycling water, and preserving ancient life in ways that no surface observation had ever suggested. And then, the temperature began to climb. Geologists had modeled the temperature gradient carefully. At 12 kilometers, they expected roughly 100 degrees Celsius, manageable, within the operating range of their equipment. What they found was 180 degrees Celsius, nearly double the prediction. The heat was so intense that the rock itself began to change behavior. Instead of remaining brittle and fractured, the granite at these depths started acting like warm plastic. It flowed. It deformed. The walls of the borehole would slowly squeeze inward, closing the hole behind the drill. Engineers had to repeatedly re-drill sections that had sealed themselves shut. The drill bits, designed to cut through the hardest stone on Earth, were being destroyed by a planet that was quietly healing the wound they were trying to make. The Soviets did not stop. They redesigned the drill. The original system rotated the entire drill string, a column of steel pipe weighing over 200 tons. At 12 kilometers, the torque required to spin that much pipe would have snapped it. So Soviet engineers invented a new approach. They kept the pipe stationary and used pressurized drilling mud to spin only the bit at the bottom. It was an engineering breakthrough born out of desperation. They pushed past 12 kilometers in 1989 and reached a final depth of 12,162 meters, just over 40,000 feet. The deepest any human-made instrument had ever penetrated the Earth. Then they tried to go deeper, and the Earth said no. Every attempt to drill past 12,262 meters failed. The drill would jam, the hole would collapse, the equipment would warp in the heat. In 1992, the project was halted. Not because of what they heard, despite the persistent myth that Soviet engineers recorded screams from beneath the Earth. That story is a fabrication. The audio that circulated in tabloids was lifted from a horror film. No microphones existed in the borehole, and no supernatural event occurred. The truth is more unsettling than any myth. They stopped because the planet simply would not let them continue. The temperatures exceeded anything their technology could withstand. The rock refused to stay open. The boundary between what humans could engineer and what the Earth would tolerate had been found, and it was 12 kilometers down. Let's pause here, because the scale of what the Soviets accomplished and what it revealed deserves a moment of clarity. In 20 years of drilling, they penetrated roughly 1/3 of the continental crust. 1/3. The crust itself is only the outermost skin of the planet, less than 1% of the distance to the center of the Earth. The mantle below it extends for nearly 3,000 kilometers. The core beneath that stretches for another 3,000. The deepest hole ever drilled by humanity reached a depth equivalent to the cruising altitude of a commercial airliner. We have barely scratched the surface of our own planet. After the Soviet Union collapsed, funding evaporated. The scientific team was downsized, then dissolved. By 2008, the site was completely abandoned. The drilling rig was dismantled. The buildings collapsed. Today, the Kola Superdeep Borehole is marked by nothing more than a rusted metal cap, bolted to a concrete slab in the middle of a decaying Arctic compound. The deepest point ever reached by human engineering is sealed by 12 bolts and forgotten by everyone except the occasional curious visitor. But the data it produced is still being analyzed. The core samples, stored in a nearby mining town, contain a continuous record of 2.7 billion years of geological history. They revealed that water exists at depths previously thought to be completely dry, trapped in microscopic pores within crystalline rock under immense pressure. They showed that the boundary between granite and basalt, one of the most fundamental concepts in crustal geology, does not exist the way it was taught for a century. They proved that ancient microbial life can be preserved in rock at depths and pressures that should have obliterated it. And they demonstrated conclusively that the deeper you go, the less we understand. Here is what stays with you. Voyager 1, launched 7 years after the Kola project began, has traveled over 23 billion kilometers into space. In roughly the same amount of time, the Kola drill traveled 12. The void above us yielded more easily than the rock below. We have sent instruments to the edge of the solar system, photographed black holes, and landed machines on Mars. But we have never seen the mantle. We have never touched it. We have never sent a camera into the layer of rock that makes up 84% of our planet's volume. The deepest hole on Earth goes down 12 kilometers. The center of the Earth is 6,371 kilometers away. We got less than 0.2% of the way there, and the planet shut us out. The ground beneath your feet is not solid. It is not still. It is not known. It is an ancient, pressurized, chemically active system that produces gas, cycles water, preserves billion-year-old life, and heals itself when you try to cut into it. And the only thing standing between you and all of that is a thin, cracked, poorly understood shell of rock that we have never managed to drill through. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.